Go. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of X I Succeed. This is Gearface. I am joined after a long hiatus. It's the return of Polter. Polter, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I kind of died.
A couple of times you died. This is like your fourth or fifth life of the year, I feel like. Well, I'm glad you're not currently dead. So that I can ask you about Nanase, the character we're covering today. I want to shout out Breakfast Club community member and friend of the show, Adwins, who I think as we started this lesson just got really, really hyped up for reasons that he can't explain yet. But hopefully you enjoy this one, Adwins. Super excited to learn about Nanase. I know very little about her. Polter is just the crow ghost to tell me about her. Couple disclaimers before we get started, as always. Number one, we are going to be talking about playing to win on this show. And that's not the only way to play Exceed. In fact, it's not even the coolest way to play Exceed because you should be playing Exceed for fun. And if the lines of play that we're discussing on the show don't sound fun to you, you shouldn't play that way. Disclaimer number two, we don't know everything. Exceed is not a solved game. Polter obviously is an expert. I am less of an expert. Together we average out to being like, I don't know, 50 to 75% of an expert. All that to say, though, that there is plenty of room for dissent. Don't take any of the things that we're saying as gospel truth. We often talk about always do this, never do this on this show. That's, never say never. There are always things that we don't know about characters. Please tell us why we're wrong. Develop your own lines with the character and then prove us wrong. But with all that said, Polter, please tell me a little bit about Nanase.
Oh man, after this past year being hit with all these allergic reactions just left and right, I kind of wish I was having one right now looking at her.
We just end the lesson immediately. It's like, Polter saw the character we're doing today and suddenly he's got to go.
Yeah, no, back to the hospital for me.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you later. I'll see you in 6 months when you recover. We can do bison down here instead.
Yes, in the bison zone. Yeah. Nanase is certainly a character of all time, both in Source and in Exceed.
I feel like I first showed up in the community right around the time the Undernet came out. And everybody, was forming opinions about the series or about the season. There was capital D discourse about season 6 of Exceed, especially when I first started, that we're not going to relitigate here. But I remember everybody having a whole lot of opinions about most of the characters in this list. And I feel like
everyone.
Yeah, I feel like Nanase got a cursory mention every once in a while, but for the most part she was kind of ignored. So I feel like one of the characters of all time is actually pretty apt for her.
Yeah, she did not stand out as much. I think she was one of the later ones that was revealed, and the community was putting together kits based on public reveals and or what we could piece together from promotional images.
Right. I remember this. Yeah, no, people were posting just albums of the publicly available card art, and people were converting them into tabletop resources so that we could play them ahead of time.
Yeah.
A weird time.
I know some people, names will not be mentioned, had a little bit of a extra look at things behind the scenes and got to get us some stuff a little bit earlier. But, we pretty much made all the characters before any of them were officially released / announced.
Right.
Honestly, I think was one of the last ones. I forget who really was the last one, but she was definitely tail end.
That sounds right, and the fact that we can't quite remember might also speak to her status as one of the characters of all time. I'm trying. I feel like there was one character who like just didn't get revealed for like a month afterward because people forgot or something.
It was Byakuya, I think,
Yeah,
who just like for whatever reason they were going through the list of characters like alphabetically for the most part, and they skipped Byakuya in the process, and
right.
then we circled back to him at the end after
Which
God knows how long.
so and like so that what that means then in our rubric of the characters of all time, meaning forgotten characters, Nanase cannot stand up to Byakuya. Byakuya has to be the character of all time, but Nanase is one of them.
Byakuya was definitely like the most requested character of all time, so he had that going for him. It's
That's
like,
true.
where's this kid?
I mean, but he was the most requested character because they forgot to leak him or they forgot to reveal him, not because anybody was like extremely hyped.
And it was a shame too because we heard a whole lot of like tidbits of development stories regarding Byakuya and his status. I don't know if you ever got into the nitty gritty of that, but long story short, he went through a lot of revisions.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't hear about any of that stuff. When I was first joining the community, I wasn't like this was obviously before Access Succeed, it was before the mentor tournament I ran. I was just kind of trying to absorb everything I could, and it turns out that even at the time there were like 100 characters in Exceed, and it's an absolutely overloading amount of information for a new player to take in. So I was trying and failing to keep up with a lot of those conversations, and since then, um, Byakuya was definitely a character. Like did a great job teaching me Byakuya, but there's enough jank going on with his kit that we filled probably 2+ hours just going through kind of like the bare bones of him. So we definitely didn't get into development history or anything like that.
Yeah, it's crazy how a character like him, like one of his best boosts, is just like, yeah, spend 3 fours to draw 7. This is fine.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like
You don't think about that for anyone
com-
else.
common to a lot of Undernight characters and a lot of the way they play neutral, one of the strongest things you can do is change cards. And one of the things that D taught me on that lesson that's kind of been applied pretty well to a lot of other Undernight characters that I've learned about is that because they don't have a huge ability to like influence the board and like set up set play, a lot of their neutral has to be played by like crafting a really good hand. So like
Yeah,
I
a
feel like
lot of that is like getting EX attacks so that you actually have real defensive options.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that boost is called like Chalicerata or something. The draw 7 on Byakuya. I feel like that's actually like kind of an exemplar of what season 6 neutral looks like. Um, yeah, overdraw. Draw way too many cards, filter down for the ones you need, and now cool, you've actually maybe you have like a functional hand now.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so Nanase, I I know I think two things about her kit. And this is from somebody who is like I don't know anything about the season 1 and 2 characters that were in play before I showed up in the community. Nanase is one of the characters who was like released during my time in the community that I know the least about. So I don't actually know how well she fits into that paradigm that we're talking about in Under Night, where you have to build a really good hand and that's your neutral play. Where should we start with this character?
I mean, we could always start with the character history and how I feel about her.
Okay, sounds great. I'm
'Cause I
I'm
feel like
fine.
that
I'm
a
fine to
lot of
kick
it.
the actually relevant information down the field for another 10 minutes. Let's do it.
Yeah. God. So, Under Night is like a weird series about a bunch of vampires that fight each other. They're not really vampires, but they were like bitten by horrible night creatures that injected some of their power into them while sucking out their blood. So, if that's not a vampire, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I feel like the thing that everybody should know. Go play Under Night. Under Night's fun, but the thing that everybody should know about Under Night is that every single thing in Under Night has a proper noun, and they're all wild, right? No, these aren't mutants or superheroes or whatever. No, they're inbirths.
Inverse.
Every single thing has a crazy name, and none of them are the names you would expect them to have. So no, they could never use vampire. They have to use something completely insane instead.
Oh. So, in terms of like this weird vampire fighting game thing that isn't the fighting game called Vampire, you should play that one.
True,
maybe,
actually.
maybe also play Under Night, but also play Vampire. That game's awesome. So there's like I made an actual image for this, but there's like a tier list for how evil I think each character is, and someone like Merkaba, who's just like this straight evil vampire thing that wants to eat you. He's like kind of more in the neutral side because he's just kind of doing it so he can live.
Yeah, he's like a
Doesn't
dumb
do it
animal.
for fun. You got like Hilda who exists, who I mean, she's like kind of more evilish. She's like cartoonishly evil. She mostly just wants to blow up the world and
Yeah,
be happy doing it. Most of the characters are like more on the good side of things, but like heroic Wagner here, who I think is like probably more evil than Hilda, if I'm gonna be real. She just hates human beings in general.
agreed.
I don't know what's wrong with her.
I feel like a lot of characters, and also like I mean another element of this is that the Undernight's story is like sometimes serious, sometimes not, in a way that a lot of fighting games are. So like, do not expect serious meditations on morality. A lot of the characters who are bad in like sort of like Polter saying, like cartoonish and wacky ways.
So anyhow, you may notice that all these characters are to the left of Nanase.
Yeah, yeah. Prior to the lesson starting, I Polter and I were talking about this. And I actually don't want to go super far into Nanase and Source because it's actually like this is like a family friendly ish show. Um, she sucks a lot. The writing around her sucks a lot. They make some jokes about some pretty heinous stuff with Nanase at the center of it. Um,
Yeah.
so probably the less said about the specifics of why she's a frustrating character, the better. But the short version is like, yeah, I think that she doesn't really comport to the paradigm of everybody being cartoonishly evil. I think she just sort of sucks.
This 14-year-old girl, main villain of the game. Let's be real.
True.
Oh. So yeah, I would say is certainly an interesting character when you pay zero attention to her actual backstory.
Well, I mean the like okay, one of the upsides of fighting games, right? Just philosophically, is that you can get a lot of character and flavor out of a non-verbal or non-narrative portrayal, right? Like I know a whole lot about Zangief uh, if I don't know anything about his backstory. That's kind of like fighting game characters are designed to be very legible and very like obviously appealing to the people who they appeal to. So you don't need to dig super far into a character's backstory to reveal their character if what you're looking for is like she flies around and has a lot of cool wind powers and neat zipping around the screen animations. Like insofar as characters in fighting games are, I know that this is sort of a meme, but like collections of mechanics. Um, Nanase is like kind of cool, actually, and as long as you ignore the stuff she does in the games.
Yeah.
So I'm actually down with
Yeah.
this interpretation. We can talk about, and also I mean like, and then there's an adaptation quality of Exceed where like, how much she resembles the Nanase of Under Night at all is sort of up for debate. I know that the Under Night season of Exceed kind of has like an inconsistent hit rate with nailing those adaptations. So this not to say that we're talking about today might be about as divorced as possible from the Nanase that we don't like in the story of Under Night.
Yeah, I can't vouch for that. I haven't really paid much attention to how she plays in Under Night. I know I've watched a few people play her in the server, but I can't say that I noticed like anything particularly noteworthy that either connected or divorced her from how she
Right.
plays in Exceed.
Right. Sure.
Though we do have a sticker on the server that references Nanase that says, 70 plays, 10 wins. And I feel like you're going to get that experience in Exceed.
Okay. Yeah, I remember again, this is memories from when I first joined the community, and everybody's better than me, everybody's more experienced than me. I'm taking everything everyone says as the gospel truth, right? And man, I feel like half of the cast of Under Night, when they were revealed, was bottom one in the game for a while. And I don't think that perception is true anymore. I think almost all of the characters have risen in estimation in terms of power level a little bit, at least.
Yeah.
But I remember when people first saw Nanase being like, "What do you even do with this character? Like, how do you win games?"
Well, at least a couple people have at least started figuring out what to do with her. And I think that's like why we're here today, right? Like, how do we win with Nanase?
Yeah, absolutely. I am literally, I would, a not insignificant amount of this project is devoted to figuring out how to win with these weirdos and Exceed, and Nanase is definitely one of them.
Like, this is not a 7% win rate character. You if you want to main Nanase, you can get over 50% if you wanted to.
Okay.
It's just a question of part of it's how much you can read your opponent. Because a lot of what she does is similar to characters that do extensive set play, like Akuma, where your goal is to play the super risky attack, and if you hit, your opponent dies instantly.
Right. Yeah.
Nanase,
You win like 3 strikes worth of value all at once if you land like an Akuma Kyakishu or something like that with crit.
yeah. Like, Nanase doesn't get any of like the safety buttons that Akuma gets. She doesn't have the impressive range. She doesn't have like the super high speed boosts or like the double power.
Right.
She doesn't have the ability to just let the opponent play a card first to determine what she should do in response. So you're playing a more risky game with her compared to other characters of a similar vein.
Okay. So I mean the first lesson in the whole show was on Akuma. It was D teaching me. And one of the things that he told me was basically like you look at this character ability that says both players have +2 power, or his Exceed mode where it says both players have +3 power, and your goal as the Akuma player is to make that both players clause matter as little as possible, right? I should be using my character ability in a way that only I get bonus powers because they're not hitting me because I'm stunning them. And to Polter's point, Akuma has some really messed up boosts, some really messed up cards that where's his DP? That one's also pretty heinous. Yeah.
It's heinous in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. He has some tools that allow him to be remarkably safe for how high risk, high reward this ability seems to be. And you can play him in a rushdown style, but a lot of players elect to play him in a much more boost so you win the strike, boost so you win the strike, then win the strike. You're kind of saying that Nanase actually does need to engage in the risk and reward of what Akuma's character ability kind of implies you would need to do with him. Is that right?
Yeah, you're basically playing a rushdown Akuma line here, like the kind of character that doesn't flip and is just like throwing the one boost down and then just trying to throw like 7 or 8 power attacks to
Right. That are
disorient the
answerable, and
opponent.
you might explode if you whiff, but
Yeah,
you're and I mean, so key to that line is that you are only spending for this ability when you're like pretty sure. Not guaranteed
yeah,
positive, but like I think I'm going to win this strike. I have a good reason to believe I'm going to win this strike. I'll spend for the ability. You're not
yeah.
just throwing coin flips, you're throwing mix-ups.
Like 90% sure, you know.
Yeah, I might explode, but if they have the EX cross, they have the EX cross. Oh no. But I'm gonna try to stack the odds in my favor, run good offense. It's not just like running your head into the wall. So
Mhm.
Nanase is kind of cut from that cloth.
Yeah, I think they also share a similar weakness in that Akuma's really bad at defense most of the time. He has to
Mm,
have boosted play to be good on defense, or have his shuriken that isn't called out by the opponent.
right.
Uh, because this guy, he's got 4 speed. He's got like another 4 speed, and hey, what's that 4 speed? And here's a
Right.
5 speed at like short range.
And
So
a lot of the things that you like this like these two, Hyakushu and Goshoryuken, are super competent defensive options, but they're also like your best boost delivery mechanisms on offense. So you would rather use them to kill the opponent than
yeah,
to just try to, dodge a sweep by closing in and having a range one dodge or something.
yeah, and of course these things are like easily baitable too. So if your
Right.
opponent thinks that you're going to play defensively, then they can just cheese out your attacks.
Right. Sure. So Nanase, it sounds like similarly has some rough time on defense. Um, I know from reputation and from having gone through a bunch of other Undernight characters at this point that like hold on. I don't get the sense that season where did my good Ultra Boost go? I don't get the sense that characters in season 6 in general have ever heard of +3 of a stat that isn't like guard, right? Like +3 speed. This was this boost was printed back when uh Exceed was a much higher number game in general. Um so if I don't have and like looking through my boost really quick, I see a +2 speed. That's pretty cool. Um but in general, these boosts look a little bit dicier. Um
Yeah,
if my boost quality isn't up to snuff, um do I just have bad defenses pretty much all the time?
I think that's like a season 6 dilemma right there. Most characters just going to have bad defenses basically all the time.
Okay, so
Um,
in order to win, I should be expecting to win really hard on my turn.
yeah,
Okay.
uh, that's like more true for Nanase than even most season 6 characters. But yeah, that's like a general seasonal thing. If you're not playing to win on your turn, then you're playing to lose.
Okay. That makes sense. Um shall we talk like general game plan, or should we start with character ability? How do you want to do this?
I think talking about the character ability is important because you kind of have to understand Nanase's neutral game to understand Nanase's total game, because
Okay.
it really is the whole package right there.
Sounds good. So I assume that the character ability that you're talking about is the one that is here in front of me right now on the blue side of this card.
Well, it certainly is a character ability, but thankfully, Undernight characters can exceed for very low gauge cost.
Okay. So this is what I mentioned earlier. I know two things about Nanase. This is one of them, which is that most players have a very low estimation of this ability in particular compared to this one. But this one, strike, your attack has -1 power, -1 speed, and hit gain advantage. Um,
Very
Polter, what are your
interesting set
thoughts?
of
What are your thoughts
very
on this
interesting
ability?
set of stats. It's You're giving up a lot whenever you use this. You can't boost on the same turn that you do this for the most part. Advantage is always good, but -1 power is always bad.
Yep, and -1
-1
speed.
speed is, it's It depends on the situation. Doesn't really matter if it's -1 speed sweep, but 5 power sweep kind of sucks a little bit more. But there are situations where you can engineer this to get multiple turns in a row without giving up too much in terms of resources.
Okay. So you're using this, assuming that you are spending any amount of time as this Nanase at all. You're using
Yeah.
this probably on a slow that doesn't care very much about speed in the first place, and you have decided that in the situation that you're in, you are okay with um hitting a little bit uh hitting a little bit lighter in order to take another turn afterward.
Pretty much. You can also do things like play cross with it, either on its own or EX.
Okay, so you have an
Because
EX attack or something that is on curve anyway and is pretty good at dodging to offset the speed penalty. You're not trying to throw a haymaker when you throw cross anyway, and maybe you have something good to do at range.
yeah,
Okay,
and that's pretty much I think the main reasons that you would try to use this ability at all. Because there's nothing wrong with an EX cross. You're not really reliant on cross in your game plan. And on top of that, you can just throw it at range 1 with your opponent, assuming you're playing a slow, just as a sort of mix-up option.
right. Okay. Um, is Nanase the kind of character who can throw cross pretty freely because she has decent ranged options, or is this something where, like, when I do that, my advantage turn is probably going to be spent finding a way to move back in?
It depends on what cards you're drawing. She's a little bit reliant on what's in her hand, but she does have ways to easily get back in and strike on the same turn. So it's not like she's out of options the moment that she gets out.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Which,
So uh, cross sweep focus. If I have any character specific slows, they might be useful with this ability as well. Um,
yeah, I think there's like maybe exactly one attack in her kit that works well with this ability, but even still,
okay. I should not expect to be using this more than once or twice a game. It sounds like, and only in pretty specific situations. But I mean, from reputation and from what I'm sort of assuming here, part of that has to be because I'm planning to be spending most of the game as this Nanase anyway.
yeah, it's kind of like Akuma, right? Like you don't really spend that much time on front side unless you're me and you just don't care to spend the gauge.
Right. Okay. So this ability, it's a 1 gauge action. Choose +2 power or hit, gain advantage, strike. Your opponent has the chosen bone. Your attack has the chosen bonus. The opponent has +1 power. So I can see the comparison to Akuma, right? Like
Yeah,
we are both getting more powerful.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We both. I spend a gauge regardless. I gain my +2 power. You also gain a bonus.
right. I'm choosing the power and the advantage when I'm setting the strike. It's not like a after reveal timing or anything like that.
It'd be great if it were.
Sure. So um the math here is a little bit interesting because obviously if pretending that every character in Exceed had infinite guard, right? Um Akuma's character ability really only works if I'm hitting and my opponent isn't hitting, right? Like if we keep trading and we both have +3 power and we both hit, I
Yeah.
haven't I haven't changed the deltas at all. We just like I'm just playing like we have a bus to catch and I'm trying to end the game faster because we're both dying. Um Nanase is getting more power than her opponent is. Um does that mean that it is sometimes okay to trade when I use this ability, or am I really trying to just win mix-ups clean to get any sort of value out of this at all?
Well, it's kind of like the Akuma situation. You generally want to be stunning your opponent if you're going to throw power on top of your attack. So Namaste's kit thankfully synergizes pretty well with this. And most of her cards, when we get to them, you're going to notice have roughly 5 power. So you're
Okay.
pushing most of your attacks up to 7.
Okay, which is enough to guarantee a stun against at least one of like the hallmark defensive cards in Exceed. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Um and I assume, like, this is kind of reductive to even ask, but I assume that I'm choosing to go with the advantage option when I need advantage.
I know that's a surprising thing to say, but
Right,
yeah.
yeah. Listen, Polter, I've done a lot of these lessons at this point. I think I've picked up a thing or two about Exceed, which is that
Uh,
you want advantage when you want advantage.
Advantage is so good. I personally value advantage at about +2 power, so the fact that it's literally a choice between +2 power or advantage makes me kind of happy inside.
Right, it's kind of edifying to be like, oh hey, I clocked that about right. It seems like okay. So,
Yeah,
and because you value those two things relatively evenly, you're likely to be using both sides of uh, this ability regularly when you're using it. You use the power when you're trying to confirm a stun. You use advantage when you're trying to get advantage.
yeah. Though you probably are going to pick the power more often just to keep mix-ups live, because you want to just throw like +2 power on grasp, just so that your opponent plays something and loses to grasp,
Right. Right.
instead of like just trying to trade with your sweep or whatever.
Okay. So, the expectation when I'm using this ability is that I probably don't have a completely guaranteed way to hit and not be hit in return, other than with things maybe like cross, or if my opponent has uh, made a mistake at some point and dropped an important defensive option. Um, but in practice, what I'm trying to do with this ability is just hedge my bets as best I can, stack the odds in my favor, and throw like good, competent offensive mix-ups. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're trying to throw your 7 power nonsense as much as possible.
Okay. So again, contrast this with Akuma, who actually often can say, this is hitting for 7, ignore armor, it's going at speed 7 because I put a single boost down in Exceed mode. I don't really have that kind, like you said, I don't really have that kind of safety. I am going to have to be dipping more into just like general Exceed like offensive theory.
Yeah,
Okay. Sounds good.
yeah. I
Not a
think
bad thing.
your ability to win with Nanase, I think, is mostly dependent on how well you can anticipate your opponent's actions and how well you can read both decks.
Okay. Sounds good. So as we're talking, maybe we can go into some of that, what options bait what options, how we can punish those, like, and just kind of go through a general idea of what her mix-ups look like. Um Before we actually get to the rest of the kit, got a couple questions about this ability itself. Number one, um I am planning to be this Nanase as often as I can be throughout the game. Um Number one, how do I get there? It's a 1 gauge exceed, which is not a lot. I do have Veil Off in the kit.
You
Um,
do.
do I? Am I an Undernight character who, in your opinion, should be veiling off occasionally, or is like focus too important?
I think there's arguments for every Undernight character for using Veil Off. I don't like those arguments because I think Focus is a really good card.
Right.
Um, so I try to limit how often I use Veil Off on characters. And when it comes to Nanase, she only needs 2 gauge to actually start her engine. She needs the 1 to flip, and then she needs the 1 to start using her action.
Right. So it actually is
So
kind of analogous, like Akuma's Exceed mode is 2, but no, it's not because he needs gauge to do it. It's really 3, and
yeah,
like the Exceed Akuma line is often like hovering around uh 1 to 2 gauge, and probably not too much more than that because they're not planning to be um they're planning to be spending it fairly proactively. Similar idea with Nanase.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You're pretty much gaining gauge every strike and then spending that gauge to do another strike.
Okay. I'm not really planning to like build up to a big payout ultra or anything. Um how often when I am in Exceed mode am I planning to actually use this ability? Do I need, I know that I do have some amount of boost support, even though it might not be Akuma boost support. Is this something that I am planning to be doing every strike I throw on offense? Or is it more does it require more support to be a good value proposition than that?
Uh, with the way that Nanase's kit is shaped, she has a couple cards that need to exist within her options in order to maintain a threat against the opponent. And those options happen to be range 1 options.
Okay.
So, for the most part, if you can get the range 1 with Nanase on your turn and still strike, that is the best way to actually use this ability.
Okay. Sure. And obviously, one other difference as we're talking about the Akuma Nanase comparison, Akuma can do this on defense if he has the reader, he has an EX deck. For Nanase, this is an action. So
Yep.
I'm planning to be doing this. If I'm planning to be doing this, it's going to be on my turn. I know that often Undernight characters in Exceed have like sort of anti-synergistic kits with their own action. So like I saw briefly that I have Reach, +0 to 1 range, and now Strike. I can't do these two things together, right?
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. And it's like, Akuma, you can just throw stats down. Nanase can't just play with Superior on defense. She doesn't get her stat bonus.
Right.
So
Okay.
she's a lot more limited in her defensive game plan.
Right. And her applications of this ability. But when I do have access to it, I should be using it fairly frequently. At range 1, I should be using it often, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, range 1 is like your main place that you want to be for her to actually threaten things like the 8 power sweep, threaten the 6 power focus, or the 5 power grasp, or her 7 power specials.
Okay.
It's a great place to be. Though there are arguments that you can just play assault with it, you can play dive with it. It's dependent on what is going on with your opponent.
Okay. And I assume if I do have something that is like more or less guaranteed, like a hey, EX assault on my turn with this ability at range 3 goes pretty crazy. If I do have a fairly guaranteed payout, I should just kind of cosplay as Akuma for a second and just throw it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you got EX dive, you may as well hit for 8.
Right. Sure. Yeah, you hit for 8, you're at least on curve at range 3. Like worse, like they cross out maybe in the board state that they're in, they might not even be able to. It's a solid enough payout that I should just go with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll use the ability opportunistically more than I maybe expect, especially if I'm at range 1, it sounds like.
Yeah, and Nanase is a bit of a weirdo in Undernight as well, in that she actually does have some boosts that work with her ability, namely her ultra boosts. So she will have the ability to do some funny things.
Okay, so yeah, now take another action is very different than now strike, because this actually does give me some synergy with my character ability. Okay, cool. So I have some snap play. I have some ability to really change the board in a meaningful way on my turn and strike with something that is overwhelmingly advantaged for me.
Yep.
How is my gauge generation outside? Like, I mean, I know that a lot of characters, like you already mentioned, that we're planning to be feathering our gauge. We're not really going to be building a whole lot. But am I just expecting to be getting most of my gauge from just hitting the opponent and trading with them, and then I'll have like enough to work with? Or can I build an overage so that I can occasionally afford to whiff?
Given that you can't play your ability on defense, I think you're going to inevitably get a little bit more gauge, because you're going to have to play something on defense.
Right. And they might hit.
And yeah. Hopefully you trade or even win the strike. That'd be nice.
Right.
Unlikely, but it might be nice.
Sure, yeah. And over the course of an Exceed game that has 7 to 12 strikes in it, I don't know, probably a couple of them are going to be on my opponent's turn, and probably a couple of them I'll gain gauge. So I'll expect to have slightly more than the 1 to 2 that I need to use this ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll eventually get into ultra range if you play around for long enough. So it's not like you're just going to be out of gauge too quickly, unless you just whiff every attack.
Okay, and I don't need too much. I can probably afford to use any overages on things like changing cards or moving if I need to. It's not like my economy is not so strapped that I need. I'm not Rachel, for example. My economy is not so strapped that I need to uh ration every single point of gauge that I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, your economy kind of sucks in comparison to most season 6 characters because you are reliant on a lot of your attacks existing as attacks and not as force.
Okay. Oh, because I'm throwing
So
mix-ups. Sure.
so you kind of want to hold on to as many cards as you can so that you're not bleeding out too many options that your opponent can just read into.
Okay, so
So
compare this to what we were talking about earlier about like Byakuya's Chelicerata draw 7 boost. Uh he's perfectly fine throwing away a few cards to get Soul's Oath or to get, his normals, to get important options that he needs to win the game. If I'm getting rid of forces Nanase, I'm actually like bleeding my mix up a little bit, and I can't afford to do that because I am a character who is built on throwing mix ups.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a little rough to start throwing away cards, but sometimes you gotta. That's just
Okay.
the way Exceed goes.
Okay. And obviously, if I'm spending from gauge, I'm not going to be dipping into my mix up bank. I'm not spending options I haven't already used, but I am, unfortunately, dipping into my ability to use this action by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's just something I'm going to have to discover, what the economic situation looks like in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna like the prepare action a lot. I'm just gonna
Okay,
shorthand
sure.
it.
And that's okay. And if I'm up against another undernet character, I should expect them to use that opportunity to hit me pretty hard on their turn because I don't have great defensive options. Um, and then I just have to win harder later when I take actions that don't improve my position too much.
Yeah, hit for 7.
It helps, right? I mean, we're
Yeah,
kind of underselling how important being able to just haymaker the opponent every couple of strikes is. I probably don't need to win too many of them.
hopefully not.
Okay.
Uh,
Sounds good.
so so yeah, I think that the +1 power can be a detriment at times for Nanase if your opponent has like a secret EX that they're holding on to, um, or if they just have like say donkey kick into sweep. If we know donkey kick stats, it is both faster than sweep and hits for 6.
Yes.
So giving it that +1 power makes sweep a very dangerous proposition.
Okay. So be aware of what I'm giving my opponent. Because I mean, like, sometimes +1 power is not actually that significant, especially the big thing that among the normals at least that bonus power one bonus power actually deals with is the sweep trade, right? Like hitting for 7 into 6 guard means that I win by 7 instead of winning by 1 or trading completely evenly, and that's backbreaking. If I'm going first, if I'm winning the speed tie, for example, even that doesn't particularly matter to me because I'm stunning their sweep anyway. So I need to look at their special kit, see what happens when I give those buttons +1 power, because it might actually be pretty significant.
Yeah, especially if they start putting out like little boosts like +1 speed, little cute boosts like that suddenly make a sweep trade very threatening
Got it.
in your opponent's favor.
Okay. All right, sure. So they can preemptively prepare for having +1 power by getting something that will uh, help deal with my predicted offensive option.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Um, anything else about the character ability itself, or shall we talk about the kit?
I think that's mostly it for the character ability. I mean, obviously, like end of game, you're probably going to favor advantage over the power so that you can confirm the ending. But
Sure.
outside of that,
Okay. And also, the less life my opponent has, the less likely it is that that bonus power. I mean, unless they're uh, at 7 and I can hit for 5 or 7, then I might prefer the power. But
Yeah.
if they're at 3 life or 2 life, I need to advantage chain into their block that I know they're holding and still have it be my turn so I can kill them next turn.
Preferably.
Okay. Sounds good. So where do we start on the kit? Shall we just go through all the attacks and boosts, or are there like specific options that are really important that we should talk about first?
Well, I think I can divide Nanase's kit into like, I guess, 3 portions. You have your openers, you have your defensive options, and then you have the things you play to kill people.
Okay. Sounds good.
So so your openers are pretty basic. You have a what's the word that they use for this? Ice car. You've got
Yeah,
a fast dive.
it's Crystal Strike. It's Jin's 5 speed.
Yeah.
This guy.
So you get a generic 5 speed. It's a little better than Jin's because you get to hold the target, so you don't just eat a spike on defense.
Sure. Okay. You can maintain range 1, which actually a lot of cards like this don't. They tend to set range 2 because they either close 2 like a Tatsu, or they close 3 push 1.
Yeah, it's like a weird balancing measure to allow spike readings to land against them. It's
Right.
funky as heck, but you take damage where you can get it.
Sure. And so this gives me a little bit more control than the average ice car would. It's got power steering, in other words, I guess. But in practice, all this means is that I have something above curve at range 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a very solid attack just for being able to threaten a range 4 option.
Right.
Not many characters can do that. There's a lot of characters that just have like one range 4 option they can pull out, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to cross.
Sure.
I'd say it actually has like real ranged options. So we got her fast dive. We have her one weirdo fireball. I'm not going to say the names to these attacks because they are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're all they sound like deep cut album tracks from like some Lilith Fair, maybe. Like I can see a couple of these, maybe not Tori Amos. Tori Amos is pretty classy, but I can definitely see some like mid to late 90s acoustic rock with a lot of these names.
They are so ridiculous. I think that's like another thing that Under Night has going for it. It has a lot of ridiculous names for attacks.
Oh yeah, if that's what you're looking for, have we got the series for you? Okay, so I'm noticing immediately that I do have a move, don't move, or a move if I want to, and don't move if I want to mix up. So my fireball gives me something that I can do at range that doesn't just instantly lose to sweep, which is awesome.
Yep. It's a pretty fun fireball in terms of the threat it allows you to actually hold over your opponent. Like, it's not great. It's 4 damage. It doesn't have any effects unless you actually stun your opponent with it. Your opponent's probably going to block this.
Right.
But they might just wild swing turn 1 just to get this out of the way, and so you might actually get some value.
All right, I don't really have anything to bait the dive, right? I'm not trying to. We talked about Testament a few months ago. I don't have Arbiter Sign Falling that is super threatening, and they might dive in on defense, and I could catch them with this. It's just a 4 speed. It's on curve. They don't need to take this and get stunned by it if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
In some cases, it might actually be better just to take the stun and get this out of the way, because as it turns out, when talking about all the 7 power goodies that Nanase can carry in her kit, focus becomes a very dangerous tool to use against her.
So you're not necessarily super worried about her clocking you for 4 and getting some reposition in the early game, uh, such that you would waste your armored options. Um,
Yeah,
and in fact, if you hit with your fireball into a focus or a block, you're like, all right, sick. That's one thing I don't need to worry about when I'm actually hitting you for 7 later on.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that tracks.
So throw this out. It's pretty ignorant. It's more ignorant than just playing your 5 speed option.
Right.
Your opponent will almost definitely either cross out of this or get hit by it.
Sure. Okay. So and if I do throw these, you mentioned these as being openers. If I'm at range 4 and it's a little bit later in the game and I have a little bit of gauge, I can threaten these with bonus power. Are they I'm noticing like they're hitting for 5 and 6 in that case. Um 6 on a projectile is that's 10 Hadouken damage. Um
There is.
that seems pretty good to me. Especially
Uh,
if I'm not really expecting them to be able to hit me back. Is this also just kind of a ranged payout in the later game?
Pretty much. I mean, Ken at range 4 throwing crit Hadoken is a super common play
Yeah.
at any point in a game. So the fact that this is even better because it can catch assaults as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can even if they duck in underneath it, they don't duck in far enough. So I guess what I do in that case is be very, very careful when I'm throwing this and this together. Is watch out for this.
Yeah.
Like I do not want to get unexpectedly clocked when this is just true of Nanase's ability. It sounds like in general, but if being on curve isn't enough, maybe be very careful throwing this with bonus power.
Yeah. I mean, your ranged options are going to suck compared to everyone else's in the most part.
Okay. Or at
You don't
least
have.
everybody else who is like a zoner, right? Like I should not be trying to fight Testament at range 4. I have competent options there, but that's not my game plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Almost everyone's going to have either a fireball that's better than this or some sort of close in option that's going to be able to beat it.
Yep. Especially in later seasons of Exceed, the fast dive shape is quite common to the point that like the speed curve now in Exceed is kind of like 5 is sort of on curve at range 4 in some ways. So just be careful, it sounds like, before I throw this out. Okay.
Yeah. It's an option grabber. I think that's like the best way to describe it. It's to reach out and grab your opponent's options and throw them in the trash can.
Make them play to beat it because it is so threatening to get stunned by. Cool. Now I've traded a fairly low value card, it sounds like, for something that is important enough that you got rid of it. I can exploit that later on.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. All
Um,
right. Where to next? Do we want to talk boosts at the same time, or should we go back to those?
I think boosts are good to cover here because, I mean, I say this attack's an option grabber, but the boost on this is literally look at the opponent's hand.
Sure. Yeah. So if I'm trying to filter for options, I could do worse than literally just seeing what they have and then hitting them anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's hella expensive. Probably don't have the 2 force to pay for this most of the time. But this is like one of the very few hand peaks in season 6. Since, there's no parry. No parry is a problem.
True. So
you need the information.
I don't have parry, but I do have reading. And I have a kit that can, I mean, at least my character ability can gain me advantage occasionally. Oh, but this is strike, not. Okay. It's not take another action. I can't gain advantage, then guarantee a reading or something.
Yeah. No free readings, unfortunately.
Okay. So in terms of how we're evaluating my fireball versus its boost, it sounds to me like I'm planning to be using the attack a little bit more often just because the boost is expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that looking at your opponent's hand really like offers too many advantages anyways in most games? It really mostly depends on, hey, do I like hit a hand of like five normals and then make my opponent sweat? Um,
Right.
or is it like late enough in the round that my opponent has what, like 10 cards left in deck? They got like five in hand. Is it worth looking at the five?
Right. And I'm assuming that they're holding some kind of defensive option and I want to confirm for sure before I throw a payout or something like that. But
Yeah.
my payouts are
I'm
going to be
sorry.
probably
Can I interrupt you? I have a
I'm sorry,
phone
go ahead.
call.
Oh, go no, it's all good. I
Okay.
can cut this out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Yeah. This is what happens when you live in the exciting world of, hey, I have a chair I need to sell.
Oh man. The thrill a minute life of Polterghost.
I need my $15.
Listen, that's an important consideration. Don't worry about it. All right, so yeah, we can hop back in right here. Hey, we're back. Hello. Um,
Nice.
we were talking about jumping to conclusions and the value of um hand information, and I was thinking that like, all right, cool, I can use this to set up a late game payout if I think that they might be holding a defensive option. I want to confirm it, but my late game payouts are probably going to come in the form of this anyway, and I can't use both at the same time.
Right.
Okay. So it sounds like it's okay. It's not the best boost of all time. I shouldn't be using it in every match, but the projectile on it is pretty solid too.
Yeah. And when you have ways to confirm reading, it unfortunately you can't use your character ability with reading, but it's not like you can't get in with a reading
Right.
and do something later.
Right. Okay. So use it when the situation calls for. There will be plenty of times when I can't really do very much with the fireball anyway. It would keep it from being a dead card. I assume for 2 force I'm probably paying with an ultra. Um, because I really don't want to uh throw away cards that I need to mix up my opponent. Is that correct?
Probably it's unfortunate to get rid of your ultras because your ultras, as we're gonna go to later, are gonna have some really good boosts on them.
Okay.
So it's hard to actually figure out what to pay for, um, what to pay with rather.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is probably 4 force in total. I'm spending two. It's the card itself is worth one, and then I'm striking. Um, that is exceptionally expensive for just a hand reveal. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and
could
we
definitely be worse, but
sure. And we talked about my fast dive. I know overpower. I've seen this boost on Wagner before.
yeah,
This is a good boost.
it's a
Um,
fantastic boost.
okay. So what am I using? What am I using overpower for?
Um, well, it's kind of funny because it's a great range four play.
Sure,
you
right.
don't you don't have great zoning options, but man, wouldn't it be great if you could like hit with spike or sweep from range four or even assault? Those would be great. Um, Overpower, I think, is at its best. This goes for Wagner too. When you are at range one and you can threaten a sweep with it,
Right. Keep him from crossing out.
yeah, it's a pretty exceptional way to just do big damage.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like from how you're describing it, you don't value my fast dive particularly high, except as an opener and as a way to get in if I need to get in. So overpower is a pretty legitimate use of this card most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, three power, meh, plus one power and some range. Ooh,
That sounds pretty good. Yeah. Um. All right, and this one is not anti-synergistic with my character ability. It passes the turn, but next turn, hey, this could be +3 power if you don't do
yeah.
something about it.
And depending on the situation, your opponent might not really have a whole lot they can do about it.
Right.
If they got
Definitely.
sweep, they can just play sweep into you. But outside of that, like risking getting tagged for extra damage is something you usually don't want to do and exceed.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No, that's good life advice, right? Um
Yeah,
okay. So, pretty straightforward but very powerful boost. Stable neutral boost, which is actually something that a lot of characters in a night can't really claim. on a fairly mediocre attack. Pretty happy to use this boost, it sounds like. Where to from here?
I think we go to your big payout buttons, which are going to be Angie's and Plumage.
Okay.
So these two do kind of similar, but kind of different things. I think if we start with Angie's. This is an attack that you'll probably recognize from other Under Night characters. The attacks with speed X do not hit you, but instead of being 5, Nanase gets stuck with a 6 for some reason.
Okay, so loses to Tiger Driver, for example. Which is something that I really don't want to lose to.
Generally speaking, no.
Okay, yeah. Again, excellent life advice. If you can avoid losing to Gigantic Tiger Driver, avoid losing to it. It hits for 7.
Not great.
Right.
This card is a great card. It hits for 7 with your ability. It dodges Grasp and Cross. It's a wonderful mix-up tool.
Okay. And I mean, if it's hitting for 7, it's also implicitly beating sweep. So it also stuns something slower than it. So a lot of times speed dodges are kind of reserved as defensive options, especially in Undernet, because if I'm playing Chaos and I have Conceal, I don't have much to do on defense as Chaos. But a lot of the value of this card is tied in with its ability to synergize with my character ability to hit for 7. I should plan to be initiating with this occasionally.
Generally speaking, this is like a card that you try to initiate with as much as possible, because where everyone else can like play their speed dodge and beat Assault, we don't get the same privilege.
Right. Okay.
So it makes things a little bit harder to exist as Nanase.
Okay, sure. So as a defensive option, it's not as good as a regular speed dodge anyway. A regular speed dodge would also just lose to an initiated sweep or a defensive sweep. Mine doesn't, but only if I initiate with it. It's probably a good idea to initiate it with my character ability then.
Right.
Makes sense.
And if we notice, it has weird little after advance 3 on it, which means that depending on your positioning, you can also just dodge a focus.
Oh, true. Okay, so range 1 in particular, even if they decide to muscle through it and try to trade through and get that bonus power with my character ability, I can still dodge them, assuming I don't run myself into the corner first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your main threats here are like dodging donkey kicks and Tiger Drivers.
Yeah.
If you can avoid getting hit by those, this attack just works.
Okay. Makes sense.
And if your opponent does cross out, then you just catch them back at range 1. You miss, but you're back at range 1 again.
And they missed too, and usually when you cross out, you are backing yourself into the corner, so I've probably got a little bit of positioning on them in that exchange. I probably spent a gauge to do it, but that's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Cool.
So, very, very, very solid offensive option.
Cool. Sounds good. And I mean, hitting for 7 does not need too much in the way of a sales pitch, as far as I'm concerned. What about Plumage?
Plumage is one of the weirdest attacks I've ever seen. I'm gonna be real. I feel like they reversed the ranges on these 2 attacks because I don't know. Saying you get +1 speed if your opponent initiated on a 1-3-7 total just doesn't seem great.
Right. So like if I'm up against somebody who has a really, really threatening speed 6 command grab that I cannot afford to get hit by, having an extra 7 speed on defense is like fine, but it's not on curve in that case because I'm defending. It will never be. It's not a DP. It will never be above curve without an EX. A 1-5-6 though, a 1-7-6 with my character ability. Now we're talking.
Yeah, you don't lose very much when you get to play that.
Yeah. Okay. with the character ability, it's hitting focus for 5 and taking 5 back. So not the worst trade I've ever seen into a focus. And everything else is just ruining.
Pretty much.
Okay. And
Just don't
then,
get grasped.
yeah, oh, and conveniently, here's my grasp answer if they decide, or honestly, here's my grasp answer if they decide to defend with grasp. I can be fine just hitting for 5 in that case too. So I do have options.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm taking from your tone that you don't think of this much as a defensive card.
Not unless you're going to throw overpower on top of it. Then you suddenly actually have a DP.
Okay, sure. A DP that my opponent kind of knows about, but hey, I actually can go above curve at 2 if I need to.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Could be worse, but hey, you do have a technical DP.
Sure. And if they are afraid to attack into me because of that DP, cool. Now it's my turn. I can probably make better use of that overpower anyway.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I'm a big fan of letting my opponent pass turn and them swinging at me with a 1-2 8-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's messed up. Okay. Yeah. No, you sold me, right? Like again, hitting for 7 doesn't really need much of a sales pitch. Hitting for 8 needs even less. Yeah, I mean,
it's
7 damage
DP or a kill button.
7 damage cards are not supposed to be this fast, right?
Yeah, not unless you're Tagger.
Yeah, true. So that's exciting. Okay, cool. Both these cards, it sounds like, are integral to my mix-ups. I'm planning to be throwing them as kill shots whenever I can. They also have some defensive utility, but I'd prefer to avoid leaning on that if I can help it. What about their boosts?
That's the bad part, right? Like, you don't want to play the boost because these attacks are like so good compared to everything else. And the worst part is you look at these boosts and they both have no strike on them. And so you're kind of stuck in a position where you don't get to use your ability. You don't get to use the attack. You get +1 to a stat. So you're giving up a lot here in order to use these boosts. But it's not like you can't use them. +1 speed, now strike is sometimes just really good. Sometimes you just want to throw the dive or the spike.
Yep. After add this to your gauge gives me more ammunition for my character ability later. Especially if I can avoid being stunned.
Like, we're looking at a range 1 to 2 attack. So if you're stuck at range 3 and you got the dive,
sure,
you may just want to do that.
Yep, makes sense. So I'm like, generally the sort of wisdom that I've gotten from these lessons in the past is like, when I have a really important mix-up option, go ahead and spend the first one as the boost. Be really careful not to let the second one drop, to keep the mix-up live. Right? Is that generally true of Nanase?
Yeah, she has only a couple options that actually take her to that 7th threshold. So
okay, keep them if I can. What about Reach? Reach is kind of a classic Exceed boost. We've seen this on a lot of characters. Not being synergistic with my character ability sucks. It being on plumage sucks. I guess I use it when I need the range.
I think I need the range. I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
I think it's a boost you play very often. I played it once with Nanase across my mini games.
I feel like one of the times that you would want to use range is to make a more credible defensive threat. But you can't. This causes a strike. And it's expensive.
Yeah. So we're really throwing this to like threaten extremely specific range sensitive characters more than anything else.
Right. Okay. So this is a matchup tool. It's a situation tool. It sounds like this is chain shift is actually something that I would expect to use occasionally when I can afford to give up my speed dodge. But plumage is just a lot better than reach most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. I appreciate having a couple of buttons that I can ignore in a kit. Actually, it helps with the information overload. Let's move this Jin card out of here. It's confusing me.
Yeah, linearity is not a problem in this kit.
Yeah, definitely.
You have exactly enough linearity to tell you what you need to do and how you can do it.
Yeah, and then after that, it is kind of the freestyle of throwing Exceed mix-ups, and there's a lot of interesting nuance to chew into there. We have one other special to talk about. Oh,
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. It's a cross-up.
Yeah.
It's not a good cross-up. It only advances 3, but, you know, it's a good way to get out of a corner, or as an after effect, you can just dodge a fireball with it.
Sure.
As it turns out, Nanase has grappler movement.
Yeah, so and
Which
I mean
makes sense because she's a range 1 character.
I have competent but not great range tools. We were comparing earlier to Testament and how I'm really not advantaged in that kind of matchup. I mean, speed 6, dodge a fireball at range 4, draw a card in the process is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll use it when I need it. I'll use it to get out of the corner. I'll use it to dodge a fireball. As an actual attack that I'm hitting with, it doesn't dodge things very well at all in that situation, unless it's something like a donkey kick from range 1.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't be expecting to get out of the way of something really dangerous outside of particular reads. Is that pretty much correct?
Pretty much. This is your safety call out button.
Okay.
More than anything else.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with having fireball dodge that draws 1. As far as grappler movement goes, that's actually pretty solid. But it is quote unquote just grappler movement.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it with your character ability if you want to. This is like one of the few cases where I might argue that frontside ability is actually worth playing.
You get a new position.
Reduce the 3 to 2.
Yeah, you get a little bit of draw. Yeah, I can kind of see it. There's also, I mean, I've you and I have commiserated in the past about how occasionally browser AI Kai will make some really amazing plays out of just kind of sheer randomness. I have lost so many strikes to range 1 vapor thrust getting out of the way of something that I forget that it has that advanced 3. And hey, 5-speed 5-speed vapor thrust that gets out of the way of all of my strikes that also in the process gains advantage is actually not the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Like I tell people, if they're having trouble with Kai into Soul for some reason, just play Vapor Thrust at range 1 more often. Like, you dodge so many threats with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of ludicrous how good it is.
And so, I mean, this is in this exact situation, this is a pretty compelling use case of this card. I'm also seeing a take another action on the boost though. And this boost looks interesting to me. Tell me a little bit about Windmill.
Oh man, so we have a couple boosts that resemble things that you'd see on like Chips Enough. Where you give your opponent a crap load of power, but you do get a really nice action out of it. In Nanase's case, it mostly gets her in. Windmill, I think this represents her, what do they call it, a force action or something in the game itself. It's like your special condition button, and every character has one. It's kind of like drive.
Yeah, it's D, right? It's not Exceed player and consulting expert on this show. D. It's the D button on your controller. I think it's been a while since I've undernighted.
Yeah, so you know it's your solid button that you press, and in this case, it's a pretty solid button you can press.
Okay.
The problem with using this, outside of just, the +3 power, is Nanase's ranges are mostly really close range, which means the
Right.
opponent usually has ways to counter this, regardless of what she tries to do.
Okay. So I, I
You're
I probably can't make it totally safe.
Yeah, if your opponent has fireballs, this becomes really problematic to try to play into them. But sometimes your opponent just doesn't have a fireball, and you just play this at like range 5 on a sweep and just say, "Do you want to trade with my 8 power sweep?"
Right. Hold this. Yeah. So you have +3 power. You actually have +4 power. I have +2 power, but also before close too. Um, I could also, I mean, you can kind of do the stylish play, not a play that is stylish as in the Sea Viper boost stylish, where you can play evasively to get out of it. You're not necessarily getting a ton out of the stylish reloads Sea Viper, and that's incredibly important. If you're playing before close two in order to hit a range 4 cross, uh, congratulations, you've confirmed a hit for 5 damage and taken your life into your hands. It doesn't seem quite as worth it as drawing a bunch of cards to Sea Viper and doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you can convert it into drawing a bunch of cards because your opponent just doesn't have ranged options against you and you can just sit back and prepare, then, maybe do that.
Right. I'm already, but in the circumstance where that's happening, I'm already at range. Well, it might not be actually, because if I'm landing across, I could do it at range 3 or 4 and be reasonably safe. Um,
Mhm.
okay, so useful tool. I'm giving my opponent a lot of power, and I don't really have a very easy way to avoid actually giving them that power. Um, but before close two take another action is just really strong text.
It's incredibly good.
Okay. Um,
Uh, do that into reading, even if you know that the opponent has certain options that are just going to lose to this.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So it sounds like it's not something that I can just mash because it's good, but I can probably find situations where this will be very valuable to me. And it's on a
Yeah.
card that is like a role player, but not my whole game plan. So do you find yourself boosting windmill often?
Not super often. I tend to favor the attack more just because the positioning is just incredibly valuable on that
Grappling
attack.
movement is just good.
Sometimes I just need to get out of the corner, and that's fine.
Right.
um, I think most of the times that I use this or want to use this, usually someone's crossed out, whether it's me or my opponent, doesn't really matter. Um, so we're at like range 4, range 5, and I have enough space to just throw a dive or throw a sweep and have
Right.
it land, and I don't have to worry about getting it.
Right. Sure. I've gotten to range 5. Their dive doesn't hit here. I can come in and clock them for 8.
And of course, you do
Makes
like little clever things like play an EX with this as well, and just have even more safety. So, just whip out the EX Assault from range 5.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that sounds pretty good with my character ability. Okay, cool. So the situations are specific enough that I am not going to run into them very often over the course of regular play, but because this boost is so strong, it is not the worst idea to either try to set up those situations proactively or be really on the lookout for when they do happen, because I can probably punish pretty hard when I can find them.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like really fun things you could do with that, like windmill into chain shift into spike, or just like a free 5 damage and bonus gauge.
Sure.
And
Okay.
what's your opponent going to do against that? You're at crazy range.
Right. Right. Yeah. As soon as you can tell that they can't hit you back, uh, this is a combo starter, basically.
Yep.
All right. Makes sense to me. Um, that's all of our specials.
Yeah.
We also have 2 ultras, and I remember earlier you mentioning that like look forward to talking about the ultras because they have really crazy boosts on them, not necessarily because the attacks themselves are particularly exciting.
Yeah, you're not usually saving the 3 gauge here.
Okay, and I'm spending my gauge proactively, so I'll throw an ultra if it comes up, but it probably won't.
Yeah, and by an ultra, probably literally one of these and not the other.
Okay. Um,
There's
the
a few
other
reasons for this.
the other thing that I know about Nanase by reputation, I mentioned that there's two, is that this ultra has a little bit of a reputation. Um, shall we start with Lumiere of the Dawn?
I think we probably should. So the Chinese Succeed community refers to this card as 1946 because of its stat line.
Yep.
It is a meme card. I'm
If
not sure how this got printed, if I'm going to be real.
if your speed is greater than the opponent's, this attack does not hit and you lose all armor. Okay.
Yeah. So the stat line is like a complete lie.
So of the card, so hang on.
Uh huh.
Here are the things that it doesn't beat at all, right?
Yep.
It
Uh-huh.
can't hit these.
Yep.
And then here are things that, despite the stat line, it beats anyway. I'm sorry, would beat it anyway because it's a range 1 card. This would move out of the way. This would move Nanase out of the way.
That is 100% correct.
So, and here's a card that it cannot hit at range 1, so will not be played. Here's a card that is 2 points under curve at range 1 and is unlikely to be played. What?
So we're seeing the problem with playing this.
Polter, there are no more cards I can point to. I've run out of them.
I've been killed by this attack. And I'm going to tell you how. My opponent had no cards left in hand because they were playing crazy aggressive. I struck with Assault. They wild swung.
Perfect. The range 3 mix-up punish. Who says Nanase doesn't have good defensive options?
Sometimes your opponent just plays with their life. And you just get to win the game for free because you just wild swung into this card that you will not play on purpose.
Okay. So against somebody who knows that this card exists, you basically can't land it at range 1 where it says it hits. You might be able to, if you feel like taking a massive gamble, throw it at range if you are hardcore expecting an assault or a range 4 dive or something. But
yeah, you probably win the game if you do that.
Sure. So if they don't have a fireball and they're striking at range 4 and they haven't next leveled me so hard that they're like, he's about to play Lumiere, I better block. I'm working really hard to come up with a situation to play this card, and the fact that it's not really working probably says a lot about the quality of the card. I can basically ignore this, in other words.
I mean, if you like somehow corner your opponent, then at least it covers cross too. That's cool, right?
Yep, cross a card that famously is useful and workable in the corner.
Beats like the 4 speeds if you play it on offense, because I don't know why you're playing this on offense, but you might.
Right. Okay, so
watch out for the mid speeds.
So this is bad. How's the boost on it? I see take another action. That seems pretty good.
Oh yeah, advance 3, take another action. That's grappler movement on steroids right there.
Yeah.
So if this is a risk to play, then this is the freest boost of all time.
Sure.
Like, it is so ridiculously good at getting you in.
So in terms of the force cost on the movement, it's not actually saving me anything. I'm moving 3 spaces, I'm spending 3 force. Except I get to take another action afterward, and that is amazing text.
Yeah, you are literally doing this so you can just swing with your character ability.
Right. Okay. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. If I do have a boost set up, I can probably use it to confirm it. Otherwise, here's my boost setup. It's called my character ability.
Yeah. Here's my +2 power. Hold this.
Right. Okay. How is this Ultra as a source of force? The attack sucks. I don't care about that. Would I prefer to just use it for the boost, or will I occasionally just need to spend it as force?
It's a hard call. Your force is really bad.
Okay.
You don't have a lot of draw. You don't have a lot of gauge generation. You're spending gauge basically every time it's your turn.
Right.
And you also have, weird advanced 3 movements that are just printed on your cards as after effects.
Right.
So you are going to be out of position where this advanced 3 suddenly becomes incredibly valuable.
Okay.
So you'd love to hold on to this if you can. This is like basically the short of it. If you have to use it as force, then there are worse options.
Right. And the reality of the game is that I will often Exceed as a game about resource management, right? I will often need to spend something I'd rather not spend. This is an opportunity to do that. I'd prefer not to because Surge Forward is just really strong.
Yeah. I mean,
makes sense.
If you need to CC forward, you need to throw out this and like a spike and a block. Do it. You need the actual card quality to threaten your opponent. You can't do that if you're not drawing the cards.
Now, Polter, all of this goes out the window with my new Nanase line, which is hit this so that I can spend it from gauge as a CC fodder. So I don't have to worry about giving up the boost because I've already given up the boost by playing Lumiere.
Yeah, what you said.
All right, moving on quickly.
Yeah, just play reading. That'll make this work.
Yeah, no, actually though, do it. I dare you. Tell me about Atmosphere of the Aether.
Atmosphere of the Aether is a very funny attack to put your reach boost on.
Ooh, yeah.
This is a terrible attack because it knocks you completely out of position. But you're also started for force for this. So this is an incredible attack that pushes your opponent out of position so that you can draw cards. Right. It draws you cards. It's worth 2 force. You're basically getting a free CC out of this, and you get some time to hit the prepare button.
Right. Okay, so this actually, I mean, just from your tone of voice, there are times when I would play this Ultra, and there's not times when I would play this Ultra. So there are defensible use cases for Atmosphere of the Aether. I need so if I put reach on it, I've set my opponent out to like range 6 in that case. On my turn, they're going to spend the turn coming back in or we're just going to spend time reloading. When I'm at range, I could use Windmill, I could use Surge Forward, I could use lots of different ways to move back in, but many of them I would rather not because they are like, if I'm a grappler and I have lots of ways to move back in, I want to use those when my opponent makes me use them, not when I make me use them, right?
Yeah, usually.
Okay.
I think the last time I used this attack, and it was with Reach, was into a Tinker Knight. No, was it No, it was Plague Knight. So they just had like no range on me. They were drawing through their deck like crazy. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep the pressure up then by forcing them to do something.
Right. Sure. Yeah. There are game states where that is a super solid plan, but this is kind of like anti-synergistic with the rest of what I'm trying to do.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so I'll use this when I'm up against Zangief and I need some range. I'll use it when I need to draw some cards. but it's not a game plan. I shouldn't really even plan to have enough enough gauge to throw this in the first place because I'm going to be spending it more proactively than that. If it comes up, I'll do it.
Yeah, and if you do it, it's a 1-2-6-6 that beats sweep, so not too shabby.
That's pretty solid. It could hit for 7. I'd like that better, but I'll take 6 if I can get 6. How about Zephyr? Wow. All right, that's a chips enough boost.
It's just a chip boost. It's literally a chip boost, but costs even less.
Yeah, no cancel required. So +2 speed, the opponent has +3 power. Now take another action. So this is the first time in the whole kit that I feel like we've actually found the one that feels like an Akuma boost that says that this character ability is a lie, right? That no, you don't actually have +2 or +3 power. I just have bonus speed because I'm not going to get hit. I'm going to dive you. I'm going to spike you. I'm going to hit you. I know you don't have anything that can get through plumage. I'm going to hit you for 7 at speed 9. So this is a probably guaranteed payout button.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy boost. It makes Angie's invitation actually just work.
Oh,
it just loses to nothing.
Yeah. Attacks with speed 6 or greater do not hit you. Feels pretty good when it is a speed 5 attack that you're initiating with.
This is your big confirmation button. You can throw 7 power spikes with this, or spike with advantage with this, and give no cares about anything going on in the world.
Right.
You can dive with it. You can use your grappler buttons with it. It's such a multi-purpose tool.
Okay.
But it's on an attack that you might want to play. So hard to commit to it fully. This is 2 force. It's on an attack that can buy you more force, but also your opponent needs to die.
Right.
Can't win the game otherwise.
So it's like, if my opponent makes me do anything other than spend Zephyr, I will do it, like under duress, right? But if it's a decision where I don't need this, I don't need to spend this force, Zephyr is the most obvious use case for this card.
And it's like such a crazy use case.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And this seems like it is powerful enough that I would prefer to just take a couple hits to draw cards so that I can win crushingly once or twice with Zephyr. And like, yeah, I need to CC, but I'll just prep so I can keep this. And then win later. I'm a grappler, right? Like, that's something that I can do.
Like, it's the Akuma plan, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much damage you take as long as you don't lose all of your hit points first.
Right. Because I can make up a ridiculous amount of life very quickly with something like this. And I got 2 copies.
Yeah, you're definitely working for margins here.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, that seems, again, super compelling, less compelling. Spending it as force is the floor of the card, and I'm going to need to do all of those things at some point, but hopefully Zephyr. That's the kit. Honestly, a pretty straightforward, like you said, like linearity kind of, but a lot of nuance in exactly how I'm going to be spending my tools. My economy is going to be strapped such that I can't get everything I want. Interesting. What a cool character. My next questions are about like normals and economy. Anything else that you wanted to mention about the cards we've covered so far, or like what I'm planning to use, what I'm planning to do with them before we move on?
I mean, pretty general game plan here. You're trying to set these up to hit with. You try to poke with floor when you can, and if you can't, then I think these 2 cards are totally fine to spend as force if you don't want to spend them as the boosts.
Sure. Okay.
And like overpower is great, but drawing an extra card is also great if it
Right.
it
Right.
can like
So,
give you an EX for that +1 power anyways.
right. I would obviously prefer not to spend these as force. This has draw one printed on it anyway.
Yep.
Um, these are maybe not dedicated force cards. I don't have that luxury, but in a tight situation, these are cards that I'm okay to spend.
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay.
So your overall goal is to try to get yourself to range 1, throw your big scary buttons, and then from then on, you're basically playing a defensive game when you can. You're going to be relying a lot on your own focus, on your grasps, that you can try to keep the opponent on their toes. You unfortunately lack defensive options in your kit, which just seems endemic to Under Night in general.
Yeah.
So like you're relying on your funny little cross up and your basic defensive normals to try
Right.
to succeed here. Block is, it's block. It does what it needs to. It keeps you alive. It gives you force.
So when we're talking about spending force, all of these, really, the normals in general, are doing things that I can't get anywhere else, especially the defensive ones. Be careful spending these as anything other than defensive options. I don't have very many of those.
Yeah. You want to get these into your gauge.
Right.
You want to trade with your opponent, get these in your gauge. There's your force.
Right. And obviously, I'll tech hit when I need a tech hit. If I'm up against a big scary boost. You already mentioned that Veil Off is not really something that I'm planning to be doing because even though I need gauge, I don't need that much, and focus is too valuable. Assuming that respect and just defense are not things that I'm planning to play very often either for the same reason.
Hopefully not. I mean, forward movement is like not a huge problem with Nanase, so you probably aren't going to need respect very often.
Right.
Uh, and since your opponent gets multiple bonuses for striking into you, because you don't get to use your ability and you don't get to draw from respect,
Right.
it just is rough to actually put it into play.
Right. If I need advance up to 3, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
Yeah, you got
honestly,
your close
in some
to.
cases, even the before close 2 might do what I need it to do. But if I'm getting out of the corner, I have something right there.
Yeah. I think even being in the corner is a problem if your opponent just stands there and keeps you there, because that means that they're also just standing there and
Right.
letting themselves trade with you.
Right. If they're at range 1, I'm in a fairly advantaged situation anyway. That makes sense. How about my other normals? These guys. Any
So,
particular use cases for these?
so these are, some of the best boosts in the season for the normal kit. So it's always wonderful to want to play these boosts. Unfortunately, you are Nanase, and you look at these cards, you go, oh, I can EX this. Oh, I can EX this.
Right.
Oh, this allows me to EX
Right, yeah,
this.
this gives me an EX. Sure.
Um, oh, I can put +2 power on this and just throw it, or
Right.
just +2 power, +2 speed, have fun.
Right.
Uh,
This could
Block
this
this
this could
idiot.
give me advantage.
Yeah,
With +2 speed. Like a lot of opportunities here. Um So all of these are useful attacks. I probably don't want to be crossing too often because I don't have very much I can do at range. So Superior seems like an easier play.
yeah. Sometimes you need to cross because, again, no real force generation for the most part. You're reliant on the prepare action, and the prepare action is a lot easier to do when your opponent can't throw normals at you.
Right. Sure. Okay. So use cross to get away when I have to. Otherwise, Superior is a pretty messed up boost at the worst of times, and I have ways to make it really scary on if they pass turn back to me. Um, Reading, Air Dash, and Mix Up, as you mentioned, are all very solid boosts, especially in the context of Undernight. Uh, it sounds like all 3 of them I'm kind of loath to play if I can possibly
Yeah,
help it.
Yeah, I mean, mix-up's great for when you need it, and you often don't need more than one spike, but this being the season of mix-ups, might just be worth just throwing random spikes at your opponent.
Right. They work shockingly often. Okay.
Uh,
So that's pretty straightforward. It's not advice like some character again like Zangief will never cross out ever for any reason. Nanase might cross out sometimes. It's not the most concrete set in stone advice, but you have pretty clear opinions about how to use these cards, which is more than you can say for some like generalist characters who are going to use every single part of their kit. Um,
yeah. Uh,
if you have a
I,
reading, you can use reading. If you need a dive, you can use dive.
yeah, I mean, reading is, as it always is, it's the thing you play if you want to do a Hail Mary or to break a setup
Right.
or just to force your opponent out of position.
Yep. Yep. All makes sense to me.
Uh, I think the notable thing about like randomly throwing spike, um, your opponent has to dodge this by coming into you.
True. Yeah. Okay. And if
So
they are trying to keep away from me, um, I'm pretty happy as a loss case. If they assault into me, I take 4, and now we're at range 1.
yeah, this is like an inversion of how D tends to treat Spike when he plays his games because the D theory is if my opponent is playing Spike and I like my positioning, then I'm okay with losing to Spike.
Right.
In this case, this is I'm going to play Spike because if it hits, I get free damage and a free gauge, and if it misses, I get free positioning.
Right. Yeah. No, that
So
makes perfect sense.
worst case scenario, I'm set up to do things.
Right. So instead of taking 5 damage to keep my position, I'll take 4 damage to get a better position. And
Yeah,
if I'm okay with if D's okay with losing to Spike because he likes his position, I should be okay with taking 4 to get a better
pretty much.
one. Okay. I follow the logic. That makes sense. Um, all right, so that's the whole kit. It sounds like reasonably um, straightforward game plan of put a bunch of power or advantage on some stuff, be strong on my turn. Um, in terms of economy, we've already talked about most of it. You need to use the prepare action pretty liberally. You got a couple of cards you're okay to spend as force. You will probably need more than that, and you will have to make difficult economic decisions. Don't spend these cards if you can possibly help it. Don't spend this if you can help it. Um, any other economic notes to mention?
Um, I mean, you get to be fairly liberal with your gauge for the most part. So um, spend gauge as needed.
Yep. You don't need much. You need some to use your ability, but any overage can probably be spent just doing upkeep.
Yeah, and I really wouldn't be afraid of just getting rid of even your funny little range one options. I wouldn't be too afraid of just getting rid of if it means you can draw an EX Assault because you're at a distance where these just don't work.
Sure. Okay. I need to live in the moment a little bit more. Like I can plan for the long term, but planning for the long term means that I'm going to have to give up something that would be good in one turn if I can draw into something that would be better in one turn.
Yeah.
Okay. That tracks. Okay, cool. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions. I guess any other sort of like lingering thoughts about any of the stuff we've talked about. The last question I have is always about counterplay and how to stop Nanase. Before we get to that, anything else you wanted to mention?
Um. Yeah. Part of why I dislike Nanase is because of this boost name. Because
Yeah,
that is her character arc.
yeah. Shout outs to the plot of Undernight, as mentioned earlier. Um, it sucks. It's gross. It's problematic. We're not fans. Spend this card. Spend this card as force so that you don't play this boost. Because
Yeah.
the boost name is flavorful and characteristic of Nanase. Um, so Polter, we've talked about the Nanase game plan. What is my opponent doing? What should I expect my opponent doing to do to stop me from doing what I want as Nanase? What is the counterplay to her?
Well, step one, hold focus for when she strikes into you.
Yep, makes sense.
Because number one thing that you don't want to lose to is nasty 7 power attacks.
Right.
And by that same token, holding on to EX sweep for when she strikes into you is a hilarious counterplay, since it hits all of the things that would threaten you without getting stunned.
Yeah.
It beats her sweep. It trades with the other 7 power attacks.
Yeah, I mean,
it even catches the range 4 EX dive, like hold the EX sweep.
Like the way that you've described the Nanase plan is basically like nudge my attacks over important thresholds to win crushingly a couple of times. Invest to do it and kind of take a risk to do it because, hey, actually, my opponent has bonus power too. This is only a risk with the way that you're describing it, right? Like if I throw this mix up at range 1, this is only a risk if my opponent makes it a risk. And EX sweep or focus is a really solid way to make these cards actually risky instead of just winning for free. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Forcing Nanase to trade is not great. The 5 power focus or was that 8 power EX sweep? Good God.
That's pretty bad. I would rather I would rather win clean with my ability because I'm cool. Now I'm ahead by a whole lot more than I would be otherwise. If I trade with my ability at all, it's probably bad. Even before I start talking about the bonus power, I'm expecting to win crushingly a couple of times. If those crushing wins turn into trades, I'm in trouble. If the trades are actually not favorable for me, that's backbreaking. So don't do that, basically. Or rather, as her opponent, do that. Make her throw mix-ups into really scary defensive options.
Yeah, the more that you can force Nanase to take the bad trades, the better.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, yeah, you're mostly playing to beat these 2 cards. Because honestly, her threats are mostly like around 5 power for the rest of her options, and they're not bad options. They just happen to also lose to defensive plays. Yep. So you have to keep in mind when to play your defensive plays. Like, is she going to come in? Is she going to try to leave the corner? Everything is going to end up being a mix-up on your end, so you need to play your defenses in a rational manner.
Right. And I assume also I shouldn't really even bother unless I have something that actually works against the mix-up that she's throwing with Zephyr. Zephyr's probably just going to win combat, right?
Oh yeah, almost definitely.
If she decides to do it, don't use the EX sweep right then. Save it for when she's doing something riskier than playing Zephyr.
Unless she's going to play Zephyr and Angie's, in which case definitely play the EX sweep. Blow her up.
Yeah, no, I mean, make her, like have it, turn it into a mix-up. Don't do it when she's playing the spike or the dive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think as your opponent, you have, like, really awkward options when fighting against Nanase, because you don't really have many boosts that you can play tech against. It's almost always going to just end up being against Superior, which is probably the correct move. Right. Because that really just offers her everything that she wants and needs to make her normals turn into beyond normals.
Yeah, I mean, it's that or overpower, right? Everything else either causes a strike or will cause a strike.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, unless you really, really need to tech respect.
Now on the subject of sweep, most people have like light printed on sweep.
Right.
You probably don't boost light. If you have speed in your kit, like little +1 speeds here and there, Probably worth throwing into her. Just the extra added risk of just having to deal with a +1 speed means that she just can't really throw her 8 power sweeps into you.
Right. But more speed than that starts to run into this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then you start running into how do I avoid losing to Angie's? So the fact that it's still only speed 6 on here means that you have a little bit more leeway than you have with other characters where you just kind of boost light and then almost everything just whiffs.
Right.
Uh, so, you can still put down light, throw the spike. You can't dodge it, really.
Right. It seems like the various defend boosts across Exceed, faultless defense, defend, things like that, uh, actually would do a pretty good job of just making things a little bit more awkward for her to deal with you, because you can play to avoid being stunned even into some bonus power and trade
Right.
favorably afterward.
At which point, who knows? Maybe Nanase will start playing to beat that. Maybe she'll start playing more crosses with advantage or something.
Right. Right.
Something reasonable.
So that's not counterplay necessarily, then that's just kind of deepening the matchup and making her dig into other parts of her toolkit. But if what you're losing to is just Nanase with bonus power, giving yourself extra guard could help with that part of it.
Yeah. I
And
probably
also, I mean,
want to leverage my force advantage over her since she has not a whole lot that she can work with card
right,
wise.
right. So if you're a character with very good economy, use that against her. It sounds like she's just kind of bad on your turn anyway. So if
Yeah.
I'm her opponent, I'm planning to advantage chain her, or I'm planning to um, win really hard on my turn so that I can offset the expected losses I'm going to take on her turn. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Makes
And
sense to me.
sometimes it's just impossible to do because, you just get high roll by a grappler and that's just life.
Yeah, that Exceed be like that sometimes. Sure. But you
It's
can
nice.
mitigate it by not just running into these, by using what your character can do to make things difficult for her. She's not the strongest character of all time. There's certainly counterplay.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to cross, especially if you're trying to dodge things or because she doesn't really have much that she can do, and if you have a fireball, then that makes life even worse.
Right. She is a grappler. She's a mobile grappler. She's got lots of ways in, but make her use them. Um, get some damage in the process. If you're a zoner, you probably have answers to a lot of the things that she can do at range.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense to me. Um, anything else you wanted to mention, or shall we wrap this up? I feel like I've got a pretty solid grasp of what to do with Nanase at this point.
I think that's pretty much all there is to Nanase. It's linear, but not necessarily.
No, definitely. No, I mean, linear in Exceed is still a game, right? It is. It was one of the disclaimers. It's not a solved game. So just because we have a kind of a simple game plan doesn't necessarily mean that we're expecting a completely free decision, like a decisionless game against our opponent. Because
Yeah.
they'll make us spend stuff we don't want to spend. That's how Exceed goes. Um, well, awesome, Polter. Thank you so much. Been a blast catching up with you and talking about a character that I really did not know much about. Um, folks at home, Adwins, I hope that you all enjoy this. I hope you all learned something. Go try out Nanase. She seems like a good time. Go improve her character's dismal reputation. Give us something else to focus on than what she does in Source. I hope you all
Mhm.
enjoyed yourself. Have a good night. I will see you all for the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
So long.